Yeah, what he's referring to when this concept of the beast that my teacher was talking about this week, he was actually trying to communicate a very high possibility, a very high teaching. And when he talked about the beast, one way to understand that is, you know, how would you be related to a beast? How does a beast occur for you in terms of how you would relate to a beast? You know, what would you be afraid of it? Would you try and get away from it? You know, would you try and control it somehow? Right? So that beast is a threat. Okay, it's a threat, and what it symbolizes in terms of the teaching that he was giving is that anything that you don't like, anything you don't want, anything that you avoid, anything that's threatening to you, anything that you don't understand that's threatening to you, anything that you perceive to be bigger than you, like a beast, anything that you perceive to be having its own nature and it's out of control and it's dangerous, like a beast, like that. So it could be something you're afraid of. It could be an experience you're avoiding. It could be anything that you tend to turn away from, you tend to ignore, you tend to try and control. Something that you see as something that's wrong, you know, that shouldn't be that way. All of those things are aspects of what he meant by that term, the beast. And what he was trying to get across is that whatever it is you run from chases you. Whatever you run from chases you. Whatever you think you're running from that's part of your personality, you can't escape. You know, you can't escape from the personality that is using your energy and using your body and using your life to express itself. You know, you can't get away from that because to the extent that you have no way of seeing the personality other than identifying with it, that in itself is a beast. Right? That in itself is a beast because that personality is a threat to your well-being. So that's a beast. So you can look at it a number of different ways, but what he was trying to get across is no matter what the beast is for you, it could be fear, it could be anger, it could be a certain circumstance that you're dealing with, it could be a diagnosis is the beast. Right? It could be a physical condition that's a beast. It could be a relationship that it's the beast. So whatever it is, you know, it's what you're avoiding, it's what you are running from, it's what you are ignoring, it's what you're resisting, it's what you're rejecting. All of that is a threat, and therefore all of that could be called a beast. So does that help to clarify?
Yeah, right now I'm going through a toothache. So I've had this for a few days. So my current beast, I guess, is my toothache. I want it to go away. I want to reject it. It shouldn't be happening. But last night, I think I kind of purposely decided I'm going to embrace the beast. I'm going to embrace the toothache.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's his solution, to go towards it, to
Yeah.
embrace it.
Yeah. It's not just his solution, it's what works. You know, it's, you know, as a psychotherapist, it's my solution too. You know, when people come to psychotherapy, I help them to face what they've been resisting. I help them to face what they've been avoiding. Anything you resist is running you. Anything you avoid is controlling you, right? So yeah, what he talked about is, you know, to go toward whatever it is you're afraid of, to go toward whatever it is you're resisting, to go toward whatever it is you're rejecting, to go toward whatever it is shouldn't be happening, go toward whatever it is you don't want. Get close to it, get very close to it, you know. look it in the eye, you know, keep your eyes open, looking at it, being close to it. And in order to do that, you have to get access to being. You have to get access to your true nature, because your true nature has no fear. Your true nature is the state of being that can deal with what it is that the personality runs from. Hold on. State of being has got the wherewithal to be with anything, has got the wherewithal not to run, to be present to whatever it is that you may be running from, to be present to fear, to be willing to feel the fear, be present to negative thoughts, be willing to be aware of the negative thoughts and not identify with them. The teaching that he was trying to get across goes beyond just going toward what you run from. The teaching that he was trying to get across is actually a very high teaching. Because what he was saying is that if you get so close to what it is that you've been avoiding, if you get so close to what it is that you've been running from that you could kiss it, you could touch it, right? That you can get to a place with it where the possibility comes into existence to recognize something. And that which can be recognized is that in an absolute sense, awareness is all that exists. Okay, whatever you see, whatever occurs, whatever appears, right, is appearing in awareness. Whatever you see is the movie playing on the screen of awareness. Whatever you see, everything is awareness in the sense that this is the movie, right? The screen this movie is on is awareness. The screen this movie is on doesn't move. The screen this movie is on doesn't run, right? The screen this movie is on allows everything to happen in whatever way it's happening in the movie, right? That's the screen, that's the awareness. So you could say that the awareness, the thing about the screen in the movie metaphor is that it breaks down at a certain point because the screen and the movie are really separate, aren't they? Yeah. But awareness, the metaphor we're using for awareness as the screen and that which appears on that screen is not separate. Awareness is the appearance. Everything that is appearing in your life at any particular time, including a toothache, including whatever circumstances you have, including whatever diagnosis you have, including whatever it is you're afraid of in your life, including whatever is not working in your life, right? The bottom line in an absolute sense, and you have to reach for what I'm saying now, it's not going to come to you because it is so close to the nature of the truth, right? But the whatever it is that's there, the beast, it turns out, is awareness, right? Because everything is awareness. Emptiness is form, form is emptiness. So whatever the form is, its nature is awareness, okay? Now, if that's the case, right, if that's the case, then the toothache, once you get close enough to the toothache that you can kiss it, that you're really being that close to it, right? The next step, right? The next step is to realize that what you are and what it is the same thing. It's awareness. Your awareness and its awareness manifesting as a toothache, okay? So what you are and what it is the same thing. Once that is recognized, once that's experienced, right, then the toothache disappears, right, because it's not separate from you anymore, you are it. And if you are it, it's no longer separate from you. If you are it, there is no resistance to it, there's no suffering from it. It's no longer something that shouldn't exist, it's something that is as natural as you are to exist. Now this is a high teaching. So, you know, if you don't get what I'm talking about, it's something that requires contemplation, requires more looking at it. But it's a very high teaching, right? It is the ultimate teaching in a sense, because if everything is awareness and you are awareness, you are everything. And if you are everything, is there anything that can hurt you? No. You can only hurt yourself, you see. But this is a very high teaching. So, you know, it's one of those things that it may not get through to you, right? But it's one of those things, if it doesn't get through to you, you should keep it in your awareness and keep looking at it to come to an understanding or come to a realization about it. Because it can end up being a practice, because anything that that's the reason he talked about it, right? So that you can look and see, what is it in my life that I'm not willing to have exist? What is it in my life that I'm running from? What is it in my life that shouldn't be there? What is it in my life that I'm rejecting? And then once you see what it is, can you allow yourself to be with that? Right? This is the same thing with death. Death is considered a litmus test in these teachings and practices, right? So if that's something that you're afraid of, that's the beast, okay? And if you're afraid of it, the way that you deal with that is you get closer to it. What does that mean? It means you allow yourself to be aware of it consistently. I used to study a teacher that used to say, I carry my death on my shoulder as an advisor. It's a good advisor. Death is a good advisor, right? Because it's keeping you straight about the truth, right? That this body is a time body and this life is a temporary situation. That's what the advice is of death, right? And so if you're afraid of death, the recommendation based on this teaching is to allow yourself to be aware of death consistently. Think about it consistently. Get up in the morning and allow yourself to be aware of your death. As you're going through the day, allow yourself to keep coming back and making contact with your death, with the temporary aspect of the existence of the body and this human life that you're experiencing, right? Yeah. And by doing that consistently, right, you can get to a place where you realize that there is nothing that's separate from you. There is nothing that's not consciousness. There's nothing that's not awareness. And the realization that becomes possible about death is that all it is the disappearance of something that appeared. That's what death is. It's the disappearance of something that appeared. The body appeared and the body will die. Personality appeared, the personality will die. Right? So death is a description of that which appears, that's temporary, that will come to an end, a conclusion, like a human life will come to a conclusion, right? But that awareness, right, does not come to a conclusion. That awareness is unborn and it doesn't die. So it is the experience of being that's free from change, free from threat, free from beasts. That's why you can afford to get closer to it and kiss it and experience the fact that it is nothing other than you. There is nothing but you when you're being what you are as awareness, because awareness is what everything is. So it's something that you have to allow yourself to get clear about. If you mastered this, right, you've mastered life, because nothing can happen that can threaten you. They used to talk this in terms of they used to call it a dragon in some teachings. Be afraid of the dragon, fight the dragon. You may have heard that as a way of talking about this, right? And there's a famous song that one of my favorite musicians, Paul Winter, and one of his vocalists used to sing, called "The Dragon Doesn't Live Here Anymore." The dragon doesn't live here anymore. That means the beast has been consumed by awareness, because the truth about the beast and the dragon was it was just an appearance in awareness, and everything that appears in awareness is awareness. And so it's only an image. It has no ability to hurt you like that. Just to notice it, just to be aware of thinking, so that when the thinking is unrealistic, that you lose interest in it. See, that's what happens in a natural way through the practice of meditation. You're not resisting or rejecting thinking that doesn't work. You're just not interested. If you see that the thinking that's going on is dysfunctional, unworkable, that's only going to cause negative outcomes, only going to cause suffering. If you see that, why would you be interested in that? So you're not interested in it. You lose interest in it. So if that starts to play, instead of being interested in that, see, the personality would be interested in that, because the personality identifies with it. The personality thinks that that's true. That's why the personality is suffering all the time, because it's believing thinking. It's believing the thoughts about other people. It's believing the thoughts about itself. It's believing its thoughts about the way life is, right? The personality is a sucker, right? It never learns anything. It keeps repeating the same negative, unworkable, dysfunctional behaviors. So by waking up, when you wake up, you see it for what it is. You see that's the case. And if you see that's the case, why would you be interested in doing that? Why would you be interested in continue to identify with that? So you move attention away from that to simply watching the body breathe, a neutral thing that isn't negative. It's just being aware of the body breathing. And the awareness of the body breathing allows you to discover that the identity that you are is this awareness instead of this personality that is given by thinking and has had you believe that that's true. Has had you believe that that's true. And even in this process of practicing meditation and practicing informal meditation where you're paying attention in your everyday life to what's going on, right? In that process of paying attention to what's going on in your everyday life, the challenge of this process is that when you've experienced your true nature as awareness, right, and then you are living your life as that, okay, and so you begin to see things as they are, you begin to see the negative thoughts and feelings that are dysfunctional for what they really are, right? You keep turning away from that because you're not interested in suffering. It's as simple as that. However, in the process, there will be a period of time when certain things will come up, right, that get you before you have a chance. You know, that start to play before you have a chance to notice the truth about it. And when that happens, you're in it. You know, you go into the identity of it. You're seeing through the eyes of it, right? And then you're in the threatened state, and you start behaving in a threatened state, and the patterns start to play. Okay. But if you've been meditating and you're in this process, after you calm down a little bit, you know, you'll realize, oh, I went south. You know, I became what I thought I was instead of what I am for a period of time. Now that's why this is called a practice. We talk about the practice of formal meditation as a practice so you can experience a natural process of waking up. But that'll only happen if you can allow the process to be what it is, which means that there will be times when you're in your head. There will be times when you're lost in the sauce. That's the practice. The key to the success of the practice is to not judge and evaluate what goes on during the practice. That's the mistake that people make. You know, they take the practice of meditation. A lot of people don't even succeed in practicing formal meditation because they don't like the experience they're having because it's not what they want it to be, just like life. I want to meditate. I want to sit there and be in bliss. I want to sit there and be a saint for the time I'm meditating. I want to experience what they're talking about in terms of sitting there feeling freedom and feeling peace and feeling well-being. But that's not going to be the case when you first begin to practice meditation. You're going to have to practice your way out of being identified with the process in the mind that doesn't work. And that's going to take some time, and it's going to take some practice, and you're going to have to tolerate the fact, right, that you keep falling back into the mental state. You're going to have to tolerate that. But if you hold it in the context of a practice, right, it's not a failure anymore. It's moving in the direction of waking up. Then if you take that into your everyday life, the same thing will happen there. You've got to be able to accept that there will be times when you get lost and you act stupid, right? And the patterns come up and play. And when you calm down and recognize that, you just let it go because you're practicing. It's not a failure, it's a practice. See, that changes the whole context of the way you're living your life. You're practicing being awake. You're practicing experiencing your true nature as you live your life, right? So if you do that consistently over time, the fact that you're persisting and the fact that you keep coming back no matter what happens and returning to the freedom, returning to the state of being, that you can experience, maybe you can experience that relatively easy when nothing big is going down, right? And then when something big goes down, some some trigger happens where a big charge of energy comes up, right? And you're overwhelmed by that, and it takes you into the world of that, and you lose it, and you behave the way that's making you behave, right? You've got to be able to go through that and not have it mean anything, because it's a practice. If it's not a practice, it does mean something. It's more evidence that life sucks and then you die. It's more evidence that you're a failure as a human being. Right? It's more evidence that you can't succeed in having your life work. That's the way we relate to it under normal circumstances. But if you begin to practice, that's no longer how you relate to it. You're just practicing staying awake with the understanding that there will be times when you go back to sleep and act like a fool. But in the context of a practice, that's okay, that's fine. It's part of the practice. If you don't hold it that way, the practice is not going to work. Whether we're talking about formal meditation, whether we're talking about practicing in your life. If you don't hold it that way, if you don't have space for what's happening, it's not going to work. You know, you're not judging it anymore. You're not considering yourself a failure. You're not considering yourself inadequate anymore, right? You're just letting things happen as they do, and you're practicing now instead of just living your life as a personality. You stop being a circumstance. You know, your personality is a circumstance. Yeah, these practices and these teachings are about getting free from the effect of circumstances, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, if you're practicing and circumstances come your way, and you're a practitioner and you're practiced, when you get a terminal diagnosis, it's just information, right? If you're unpracticed, it's the biggest upset you've ever experienced. It's like that, right? So this is a practice. And you're practicing being free from the circumstance of your personality. Your personality is a circumstance that's dealing with circumstances, isn't it? Your personality is a circumstance. It's a situation occurring in your mind. That's what your personality is, a situation occurring in your mind all the time that you unfortunately identify yourself with. So that situation is playing in your mind. That's a condition. And then that situation is playing as well, called life, right? So you got situation and situation. The situation experiencing another situation. That's going to be confusing, disturbing, upsetting, and cause a lot of suffering. So what are we doing? We're practicing getting out of the situation. And as Paul Hederman said, you don't have to practice too hard to get out of a situation that you were never actually in. That's the trick of this. The awareness that you are was never in a situation, right? It just lost its identity and identified with the situation called the person, right? But it's not a situation. So if you practice experiencing that which is not a situation, that which is the awareness that manifests as situations, but itself is not a situation, then you can establish what's called the middle way. You can establish a balance, right? That there are situations and there is the awareness of situations, right? Before the practice and the understandings, there's just situations and suffering. You're a situation in a situation. You're a situation in a situation. When you wake up to the true nature, your true nature, then there's awareness and situations. And there's a balance now, right? There's a balance. It's not just situations, there's an awareness in situations. And because there's an awareness in situations, the aspects of the situations that are dysfunctional, unworkable, and cause suffering, right? Start to be what you're not interested in, because now you're seeing it from awareness. And the awareness sees things as they are, not the way thinking interprets things. Thinking interprets things not as they are, but as your condition sees it, which is a corrupt process. Your conditioning takes what's happening and turns it into what your brain and your mind and your past history says it is. And it's never that, it's an interpretation. But when you wake up to awareness, awareness is actually seeing it as it is. It's seeing thinking as thinking. It's seeing suffering as suffering. It's seeing things as they are. That's why we say when you become aware, when you wake up to your true nature, right, that you see things as they are. Now you can function because you're seeing how to function, because you're seeing things as they actually are. Prior to that, no matter how hard you try to get life to work, it will be a spotty process. It will be, sometimes you'll succeed and sometimes you'll fail. Most of the times you actually fail, but just like going to casino, because you succeed every once in a while, you think this is workable. That's not workable to have things be successful once in a while when the possibility is to have life be a successful experience all the time. By just relaxing and allowing yourself to know that you're not your conditioning, you're not a circumstance, you're the awareness of what's happening, not what's happening, right? Therefore, the way you relate to it, right, is a function of awareness instead of your thinking process and your emotions. The way you relate to what's happening is a function of your awareness instead of what you think and how you feel. It's a whole different way of being, and it offers you the possibility of experiencing a life worth living. If you practice it consistently, the time will come when the awareness becomes a constant reality that allows you to be with whatever is happening, be whatever beast may show up in your world, right, without any threat to it. Be willing to be with anything that arises and appears in your life, because nothing can threaten you. And going back to the teaching that I was alluding to, the reason nothing can threaten you is because there is nothing but you. How can anything threaten you when you are everything? That's what he was talking about in terms of how to use that teaching, you know, that if you get close enough to what you're afraid of, right, you will be, if you get close enough to what you're afraid of and you've been practicing these teachings and you understand these teachings, right, then you know there's nothing but you. If you get close enough to what you're afraid of, right, you and it become the same thing, right? And when you and it become the same thing, there is no longer any threat. There's nothing that can happen. Well, if you apply what I've been saying here, you know, what he saw, that him and what happens are the same thing. See, that's the result of practice, that nothing can happen that can throw you off, because what's happening in you are the same thing. What's happening is awareness manifesting in form. That's what's happening, right? And you are the awareness that's manifesting in form, so how could there be a problem? It's like that. But you see, that's in contrast, right, to the ordinary state of affairs when you are not what's happening, and therefore you're in conflict with it, or you're resisting, or you're trying to control, or you're trying to get away from it, right? But when you experience that you are the awareness that's manifesting in form, that's the end.
So the cancer and you are all one thing, just
Yeah.
one awareness.
Yeah. Cancer is the form that awareness has manifest. That's all. And you are the awareness, and you are therefore you are whatever is manifest in form. It's a very high teaching, by the way. It's not something that, you know, I'm sure a lot of people are going to listen to this and have no idea what I'm talking about. Maybe a few people will know what I'm talking about, right? But even if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should see if you can get related to it, like contemplate it, and hold it in your awareness, keep looking at it so it can reveal itself to you, because it's a very important high teaching.